I want back, rest, do it homework, and
Brother, I'll be fair with you. If I was there to advise him, his next opponent would be his wife, Katerina, his daughter Maria, his daughter Lisa, and his sons. His family matters, maybe his business issues. That's what he has to take care of now. He has to stop. It's better to leave 1 hour before than 2 minutes after. Unfortunately, this is the truth. It concerns not just boxing, it concerns every single thing. It concerns you, it concerns me, it concerns every one of us.
Shockwaves are now ripping through the boxing world after Oleksandr Usyk reportedly hinted at retirement following the brutal war against Rico Verhoeven. Fans expected dominance from the Ukrainian legend, but instead they witnessed exhaustion, frustration, and a version of Usyk many had never seen before.
You can't earn all monies of the world. You can't beat all fighters of the world. But you need to take this decision. And this is a very difficult decision for a man like Usyk, being on his prime, being on his top, being unbeaten, and to leave. But think of the future. So from the bottom of my heart, I wish him to retire at his prime.
Accusations surrounding the Rico Verhoeven fight and made it clear that judging controversies are not his concern. However, many fans were left worried after hearing the heavyweight champion admit he feels tired following one of the toughest nights of his entire career.
I do not think about this. A lot of people say, hey, it's early, it's night. Listen, it's not my job. My job is...
Liam Goff admitted he was stunned by Oleksandr Usyk's performance against Rico Verhoeven, especially after many expected a comfortable win for the undisputed champion. Instead, the Ukrainian icon looked exhausted, vulnerable, and pushed to his absolute limit. That brutal performance is now fueling serious fears that Usyk could genuinely be preparing to walk away from boxing.
Oleksandr Usyk, what the hell was that? Oleksandr Usyk, who is a two-time heavyweight undisputed champion, went in there with a guy by the name of Rico Verhoeven, who had a record of 1-0 with 1 knockout in a fight that he had over a decade ago, who has made his name primarily in kickboxing as a kickboxing legend. Not a boxing legend, a kickboxing legend. On the surface, that is seen as an easy fight for one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of gloves. Right? That is seen as an easy fight on paper. Oleksandr Usyk went in there, and for 11 rounds, he made that fight hard. No, not only did he make it hard, Rico Verhoeven made it hard for him by showing a tremendous engine, tremendous strength, very unorthodox, but he made it difficult for Oleksandr Usyk, to the point when you are watching this fight, you're thinking Usyk needs not just a knockdown, he needs a knockout to win this.
Usyk's former promoter Alex Krasiuk openly admitted that he wants the Ukrainian champion to retire before boxing takes even more out of him. After the punishing war with Rico Verhoeven, many now believe Usyk may already be physically and mentally exhausted, despite still remaining one of the greatest heavyweights of this generation.
But think of the future. So from the bottom of my heart, I wish him to retire at his prime and being remembered in ages as one of the most prominent and greatest fighters of all time.
Rico Verhoeven made it clear that he still believes the fight was taken away from him unfairly, claiming the referee's decision robbed him of a historic victory over Oleksandr Usyk. But while the controversy continues to explode online, many fans are now focusing on something even bigger. Usyk looked completely drained during those final rounds, and the growing retirement rumors are only becoming louder after such a brutal performance.
Yeah, of course mistakes can be made, but then, looking back at it, the referee should admit his mistake, look back at it and say like, hey, so it's either a no contest or we go to the scorecards. And I think if we go to the scorecards, I was ahead.
Spencer Oliver praised Oleksandr Usyk not only for his achievements inside the ring, but also for the legacy he has built throughout boxing. However, after the war against Rico Verhoeven, those retirement discussions suddenly feel far more real than before. Fans are beginning to accept that the Ukrainian legend may finally be reaching the end of an unforgettable era in heavyweight boxing.
It's not just that he's a big personality and he sells fights so well and he's a big character and the press conferences, the build-up to fights and what he delivers in the ring. The guy is a serious talent and he'll be missed when he's retired. That is for
Don Charles admitted that he was shocked watching Oleksandr Usyk struggle round after round against Rico Verhoeven. Like millions of fans around the world, he expected the undisputed champion to suddenly take control, but that moment never truly arrived. Instead, Usyk appeared fatigued and unusually vulnerable, which has only added more weight to the shocking rumors that retirement could now be seriously crossing his mind.
Going to the fight, like everybody witnessed, I was very, very surprised and shocked of what was unfolding in front of me. Round per round, you keep thinking any moment now Usyk is going to turn the screw. And it's one of those things, the nightmare that was unfolding in front of Usyk and in front of the millions watching around the world, and I'm one of those. You just keep thinking, any moment now, Usyk is doing this deliberate. Any moment now, he's going to turn it on and show why he's the undisputed, two-time undisputed. And unfortunately, it was one of those nightmares that just continued, and I was very, very surprised, to be honest.
Frank Warren appeared emotional while discussing the possibility of Oleksandr Usyk walking away from boxing after the Rico Verhoeven fight. Warren acknowledged the incredible wars and unforgettable moments Usyk has already given to the sport, but many now believe that exhausting battle may have taken more out of the Ukrainian champion than anyone initially realized. For the first time, retirement no longer feels impossible.
I hope that's not going to be the case for him, and if he carries on, we certainly would be looking to help him in that way. But he's been involved in some of the...
Frank Warren appeared emotional while discussing the possibility of Oleksandr Usyk walking away from boxing after the Rico Verhoeven fight. Warren acknowledged the incredible wars and unforgettable moments Usyk has already given to the sport, but many now believe that exhausting battle may have taken more out of the Ukrainian champion than anyone initially realized. For the first time, retirement no longer feels impossible.
Look, I think the stoppage was early, but at the end of the day, he was tired, he was fatigued. It was the 11th round, wasn't it? Could he make the 12? Probably not. But the stoppage was premature. But look, this guy, Rico Verhoeven, is unbelievable. If he had the experience of, like, when I'm getting tired, close the gap, grab hold, let the referee split you up, buy time, this is what he's missing. You can't get this experience in a training camp. And don't get me wrong, we've been 6 months with him, turning him from a kickboxer to a boxer, getting him on the front foot, getting him off the back, letting him move, feints, you name it. Yeah, work tirelessly with him to transform him. And what a performance to do what he's done with Oleksandr Usyk, because I rate Oleksandr Usyk as a great fighter, and he's a great human being as well.
Eddie Hearn raised serious concern over Oleksandr Usyk's condition, pointing out that the usual confidence and energy was missing from the champion during fight week. His comments suggest something felt off even before the Rico Verhoeven clash began. After that brutal performance, those early doubts now look even more significant, with many believing Usyk may have already been carrying the physical and mental weight of retirement-level fatigue into the fight itself.
How good of a servant has he been to boxing?
Great guy. I just felt this week, I've been around him a lot of fight weeks, I just didn't feel any kind of confidence or buzz. And I think when I heard that this fight was getting made, I thought, that's a strange fight for him to take.
Derek Chisora strongly reacted to the controversy, calling the stoppage unfair while also defending Oleksandr Usyk by saying the champion has not lost his ability. According to Chisora, it was simply ring rust and lack of recent activity rather than decline. However, after such a physically draining battle with Rico Verhoeven, questions are still being raised across boxing circles about whether Usyk's peak years are slowly fading and if a rematch could push him even closer toward retirement.
It was an early stoppage.
That was an early stoppage. They robbed that fucking guy.
What's next for Rico, do you think?
Okay, huh?
What do you think's next for Rico?
Dylan White. I think Rico should fight Dylan White. Huh?
Yeah, what about the rematch?
They got a rematch. Nah, then, but what's his name? What's the Turkish boy? What's his name?
Cabello.
He won't get his WBC. You know, be unfair. Actually, you know what? Fuck him. Fuck him. We won the rematch.
Derek, was that an off night or has Usyk lost a step?
Usyk didn't lose a step, fellas. What you have to understand now, Usyk hasn't been in the ring for a while, so he didn't lose a step. Yeah. So what happened there was this things taking his time. You know, if he's fighting a real boxer, if he fights this guy again next time, he knocks him out.
Do you think he underestimated him?
I think he didn't respect him until he realized he was in round, what round, 11?
Yeah.
And he was losing. He was like...
You said they robbed him. Why do you think the ref stopped it?
That stoppage was wrong.
Do you think Usyk will take the rematch?
He's gonna have...
Ariel Helwani exploded over the controversial stoppage, calling it one of the worst decisions in recent boxing memory and directly accusing the result of being a robbery. His passionate breakdown has only intensified global debate around the fight. But beyond the controversy, the real concern now circles back to Oleksandr Usyk, as even in victory, he looked far from his dominant best, raising deeper questions about how much punishment his body can continue to absorb at this level.
I'm fired up, and I'm afraid I'm going to say something stupid if I'm being honest with you. Truth be told, what we saw this afternoon in Egypt was an absolute disgrace. I can't believe Rico Verhoeven got robbed like that. It's the same old story. It's the Francis Fury fight all over again. Everyone mocked these guys. Same thing with Francis. The boxing media, the boxing fans said he had no chance. It was a sham of a fight. All this, he's gonna roll right through him. You can't just walk in. Where did this guy come from? He's a debutante. He's an amateur. And I still maintain till this day that Francis Ngannou won that fight. At least in the Francis fight, he was allowed to go the distance. At least he was afforded that respect. Rico wasn't afforded that respect. In case you missed it, the fight is stopped with 1 second left in the 11th round. But in reality, if you actually watch it, and I've watched every single video, every single angle, it was seconds after the 11th round was over. Ding, ding, ding. And then it stopped. And it wasn't like, oh, stopped in between rounds. No. It was stopped maybe because the ref didn't hear it, or maybe because he's incompetent. I don't know. Mark Lyson is his name. It was an absolute awful, awful, awful stoppage. They showed us the scorecards. 2 judges had it tied going into the 11th. Would have been a 10-8 round. 1 judge had Rico up. In the end, he would have gotten robbed by the scorecards.
Ryan Garcia admitted that Rico Verhoeven gave Oleksandr Usyk one of the toughest stylistic puzzles of his recent career, making the fight far more competitive than many expected. While Garcia avoided fully criticizing the referee's decision, he acknowledged the confusion surrounding the ending. That uncertainty has now shifted attention back to Usyk's condition, with many fans wondering if these increasingly difficult wars are signaling the final stretch of his legendary journey.
What do you think of Rico tonight?
Rico fought his ass off, man. He had the style that it was very confusing for Usyk, and gave Usyk a lot of problems tonight. But, it was an awkward fighter, but Usyk got the job done.
Do you think Rico should have been allowed to continue?
I believe that the round ended, in my opinion. If I'm telling the truth, I believe the round ended, and I don't know. I don't know why the bell didn't ring. I think it was like 10 seconds left, and then I don't know. But yeah, that's how it goes. The stoppage. It's not my job to say if the ref did a good stoppage, but
Rico Verhoeven reflected on how close he came to turning the fight around against Oleksandr Usyk, believing the contest was far tighter than the final outcome suggested. His confidence in pushing for a rematch shows how strongly he feels about the result. However, this also highlights how much Usyk was pushed physically and mentally in the later rounds, adding more weight to ongoing discussions about whether the Ukrainian champion is now approaching the closing chapter of his career.
Come very, very close to taking over tonight.
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about that stoppage. Were you aware the bell was going? Did you feel like it had gone? And how disappointed are you with it?
Nah, I heard that it was like 10 seconds to go. So I heard the click. So I was like, ooh, just like keep slipping and sliding and let's try to get through it and recover and then fight till the end for the 12. Because I thought like maybe after the 8 count we were like equal on the scorecard. I thought I was a little bit ahead, but maybe because of the 8 count it was pretty equal. So I thought like at least we got to fight till the end then. Even better for the crowd. We didn't get the opportunity.
From being around you in the media days leading up to this and all fight week, it felt like your self-belief was so strong that you kind of knew something that we didn't. Did that have any part of your success in the fight, that you just knew that you were good enough to get in there with Oleksandr Usyk?
100%. I don't care that the people didn't know, but I knew. I knew we had a good shot versus this guy.
People will be screaming about a rematch. I know Ajit Kabaya will have something to say about that. But for you, it's just about the biggest fights, and if the rematch comes, the rematch will come.
Exactly. Just want the biggest fights. I showed that I can fight, that I can box. So
Wade Plemons delivered one of the most explosive reactions to the Rico Verhoeven versus Oleksandr Usyk clash, calling it a complete robbery and questioning the very credibility of boxing itself. His emotional breakdown reflects how controversial the fight has become worldwide. While the outrage continues to spread, the bigger concern now is how deeply this war may have affected Usyk, as even the most dominant champion looked human under pressure. That vulnerability is now fueling serious retirement talk across the boxing community.
Bro, I've just seen one of, if not the biggest robberies in boxing history. It just went down in the Rico Verhoeven Oleksandr Usyk fight. And I'm saying that right because Rico Verhoeven was going to win that fight. He was going to win it. And the referee robbed him. This is an all-time panic button embarrassment moment for boxing that I won't soon forget. I hope that none of you soon forget. We just saw a flat-out ski mask bank robbery because the supposed best boxer in the world, in Oleksandr Usyk, just got taken to the woodshed in his own sport by a guy that had one boxing match and yes, is a world-class kickboxer, probably best kickboxer to ever live, but waltzed into the sport of boxing and almost took everything from Usyk and from the sport. We may need to have a conversation about the sport of boxing in general. That's where I'm at right now. Not just because of the blatant robbery that just happened, but also the sport in general. Have we been lied to about this sport? Have we been sold a bill of goods on the sport of boxing and what actually is versus what is perceived? Are the best in boxing really even the best? I'm telling you, I'm questioning everything.
Oleksandr Usyk reflected on how close the fight was, believing he was still competitive going into the final stages against Rico Verhoeven. His words show pride, but also hint at the physical exhaustion he endured throughout the battle. Even though he remained composed in his response, fans noticed that Usyk's usual sharp confidence felt slightly dimmed, leading many to believe this could be one of the most draining performances of his entire career and a possible turning point toward retirement discussions. Oleksandr Usyk reflected on how close the fight was, believing he was still competitive going into the final stages against Rico Verhoeven. His words show pride, but also hint at the physical exhaustion he endured throughout the battle. Even though he remained composed in his response, fans noticed that Usyk's usual sharp confidence felt slightly dimmed, leading many to believe this could be one of the most draining performances of his entire career and a possible turning point toward retirement discussions. Oleksandr Usyk reflected on how close the fight was, believing he was still competitive going into the final stages against Rico Verhoeven. His words show pride, but also hint at the physical exhaustion he endured throughout the battle. Even though he remained composed in his response, fans noticed that Usyk's usual sharp confidence felt slightly dimmed, leading many to believe this could be one of the most draining performances of his entire career and a possible turning point toward retirement discussions.
Especially when he was in the fight as well.
Spoke to Rico and he's not happy with putting up a valiant defeat. You can tell he's genuinely got it. He said he's going to push for the rematch. Is that the direction you'd like to see him go? Turkey Al Sheikh seems keen on the rematch, and he puts his mind to these things, they tend to get done.
You know, look, we love the rematch, and you know, he's a great champion, Oleksandr Usyk. And let's not take anything away from him.
Oleksandr Usyk reflected on how close the fight was, believing he was still competitive going into the final stages against Rico Verhoeven. His words show pride, but also hint at the physical exhaustion he endured throughout the battle. Even though he remained composed in his response, fans noticed that Usyk's usual sharp confidence felt slightly dimmed, leading many to believe this could be one of the most draining performances of his entire career and a possible turning point toward retirement discussions.
Usyk, who is a two-time heavyweight undisputed champion, went in there with a guy by the name of Rico Verhoeven, who had a record of 1-0 with one knockout in a fight that he had over a decade ago, who has made his name primarily in kickboxing as a kickboxing legend. Not a boxing legend, a kickboxing legend. On the surface, that is seen as an easy fight for one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of gloves. Right? That is seen as an easy fight on paper. Oleksandr Usyk went in there, and for 11 rounds, he made that fight hard. No, not only did he...
Oleksandr Usyk reflected on how close the fight was, believing he was still competitive going into the final stages against Rico Verhoeven. His words show pride, but also hint at the physical exhaustion he endured throughout the battle. Even though he remained composed in his response, fans noticed that Usyk's usual sharp confidence felt slightly dimmed, leading many to believe this could be one of the most draining performances of his entire career and a possible turning point toward retirement discussions. Oleksandr Usyk reflected on how close the fight was, believing he was still competitive going into the final stages against Rico Verhoeven. His words show pride, but also hint at the physical exhaustion he endured throughout the battle. Even though he remained composed in his response, fans noticed that Usyk's usual sharp confidence felt slightly dimmed, leading many to believe this could be one of the most draining performances of his entire career and a possible turning point toward retirement discussions.